Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to this awesome, exciting live episode of Paranormal Axetivities. That's right. It is a Tuesday night, and we are back live here at Paranormal Activities with your host, Ben Axe, being joined by an awesome, phenomenal guest, Tjasa. I can't pronounce the last name. I don't want to butcher it for you. How do I say it?
Ferme. I told you I was waiting. I was waiting for you to say any version possible. I'm looking for a new one.
I just chickened out, man.
Anything goes.
Awesome. Well, Tjasa Ferme, right?
Right.
Awesome. You are a firm believer, I would say even a lucid dreaming professional, lucid dreaming fanatic, lucid dreaming, all of the words that go along with those things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to pull up my notes here. So you are, again, Tjasa Ferme, and you are the founder of Shaman Woman, and you are a firm believer and a firm lucid dreamer. So real quick before we get going here, tell me about yourself and tell me about your background.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is going to be real quick. I don't even know where to begin. I'm so many things. I actually launched a company. It's called Transforma Theater, which is basically with a mission to create interactive theatrical experiences at the convergence of consciousness, science, and ritual. And so as a part of that, an extension into that, Shaman Woman came about. And this all cooked up at the same time. I mean, I've been an actor and a playwright for the longest time, an experiencer, mostly scared of paranormal activities throughout my life. So at some point, maybe the fear or something just became unbearable, and I, set off to Mexico to find some answers to my questions, and I got them. And a part of the result is that I became a Shaman Woman. NYC. I do a lot of shamanic rituals and circles and private shamanic healings in New York City, as well as around the world when I travel, which is a little bit not so much right now. And also I lead lucid dreaming workshops and retreats.
Oh, that's phenomenal. A little bit longer if you could. No, so it was cool. I think you are actually the first person that lives in New York City on my show. So that's pretty phenomenal. I dig that.
Hello.
Yeah. And just for my listeners who may not know, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not sure I knew it until I looked it up. But what is Shaman Woman and what does that mean?
What is a Shaman Woman? Well, shaman means in Siberian language, the one who sees in the dark. But shaman is somebody who is a medium or somebody who connects the different layers of realms, who connects, let's say, you in this 3D dimension with the ancestors and spirits, with the lower world or with the upper world. And kind of like guides this journey and can create experiences for energy transformation and healing experiences.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense, and that's kind of one of the things that kind of when I saw you on another show, I was like, oh, they kind of go hand in hand: paranormal, lucid dreaming, other realms, if you will. So if you can, because I'm really into lucid dreaming, I've experienced it myself growing up, and not so much these days. Being old and stuff, and I'm kind of closed down, I think, now these days when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I do experience sleep paralysis every once in a while. So if you can recall when it comes to lucid dreaming, can you explain what that is? Because you're way more qualified than I am.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. All right. So first of all, let me speak to why you don't lucid dream. It's probably because you're tired.
That's true. That's fair.
You need to be well rested to actually get into lucid dreaming and to do this on a constant basis. But lucid dreaming is when you're sleeping and dreaming, and all of a sudden, what, you have a moment when you realize that you're dreaming. It means that you become conscious. It means that you're no longer identified with your dream story, and that you know that you can step out of this and manipulate the dream or turn it any way you want. And this gives us great opportunities to basically like explore this realm and go even beyond the astral realm into other realms and tap into the mysteries of life. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And that's one thing, like one of my paranormal theories is, we talk about ghosts and that kind of stuff on the show all of the time. And but one of my theories is that it's not necessarily a ghost, like a dead person is just stuck on Earth and their spirits roaming the Earth or whatever. But I believe in a lot of ways that it is another dimension. And the way we explain it is it's another way of living or another plane of existence is how I explain a lot of paranormal experiences. And I feel like, talking about lucid dreaming and experiencing the other dimensions of this universe kind of go hand in hand with that. So, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In the astral realm, right now, where we are, without even dreaming, there's plenty of people walking around, or spirits, and having their own lives. And there's para universes and para lives, and that's one way of accessing them, through dreaming. And that's sort of like the bottom layer of the dream world. And from there on, the world is your oyster. There's many, many, many opportunities and places to go. I mean, I was just thinking the other day, really, a shaman friend, colleague asked me, like, what's in it for me? What's good about lucid dreaming? And I was thinking a lot about this. What can we get in lucid dreaming that we can get with, let's say, a shamanic journey? Shamanic journey is pretty straightforward. A shaman sort of like leads you through experience, tells you what you're going to do, and then we induce you by drumming. That puts you into a theta state of mind, and you kind of like have a journey, but you never really leave your body. So in a way, it's sort of like an astral projection, right? A difference between an astral travel and projection is that the projection is you kind of like through a periscope look out through your third eye, whereas in the astral travel, like your astral body actually leaves this plane. So what's the difference? Because you can get a lot of insight and a lot of wisdom, and you can connect with many, many realms, many spirits, many elements, even with the shamanic journey. But what really happens in lucid dreaming, as well as in astral projecting, is that you can tap into the mysteries of life. And I feel like we're all, like dropped onto this planet without any manual and really knowing where we come from, where we're going, why we're here. Sure enough, we find some motivations and something that we try to drive towards. But it's kind of tricky, isn't it? So lucid dreaming or astral travel really gives you an opportunity to ask these big questions for yourself. Like, if you were adopted, who are my real parents? What's my mission in life? Who's my soul family? You name it. How was the world formed? Where, it could be also open-ended, but to really sort of like get under the skin of what the fuck, why we're here, and what we're supposed to do.
Absolutely, it makes a lot of sense. And one of the things when I believe it was the first time I've ever experienced lucid dreaming. I was probably in high school. I mean, it's been a minute now, but I remember very clearly. And you know how real dreams work; you forget them pretty quickly, except for like really crazy ones, I guess. But this one I remember until the day I die, and I was flying. Granted, I'm a nerd, I like Superman and that kind of stuff. But in my dream, I flew off Earth, and I was flying past like Mars and then Jupiter and then Saturn. And I'm telling you, man, it was like it was so real. And I was thinking to myself, I'm supposed to be asleep right now. This is a dream. This is not real. But then I like flew over Jupiter, I'm saying it was so real to the point where I know I'm dreaming. I was telling myself I'm awake, but I'm dreaming. There's no way this is real. And it lasted for a while. And that was definitely the first time I had a dream or an experience quite like that. And then a few times later, going forward, sleep paralysis and stuff, there were times where I know I'm asleep, I know I'm dreaming. I would do things here and there, but nothing outside of that, really, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. Actually, this sounds right on. My first, I guess, my first conscious or my first by will lucid dreaming that I had also involved basically being in the space and looking at the earth. And, my perspective was of how through millennia the continents were forming. I wasn't exactly flying past Mars and Jupiter, but that's right on. And I think that I just recently listened that one of the great thinkers at some point had a lucid dream where they were traveling through Jupiter and Mars and Saturn and basically discovered, I think, how many moons one of them had or how many rings. And then they were reporting, this is so, and wrote it in some kind of literature piece that was later on discovered. And then later on, astronomers actually confirmed that these are all actual scientific discoveries, only that they were actually scientifically confirmed only, I think, hundreds of years afterwards.
Sure.
So,
yeah. And like that kind of stuff happens, it's hard to argue with like the evidence that it provides. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people will say, well, lucid dreaming it's just a dream, or, paranormal stuff doesn't exist. But all of this stuff happens. You can't dispute it, really. You know what I mean? Like there's so much evidence, there's so much proof. So like, how do you argue that?
Well, I mean, absolutely. The thing is, not only is it true for yourself, but it's also you can basically turn it into your own advantage. You can train different skills while you're lucid dreaming. So like, it can work for anybody. If that means if you're a Taekwondo trainer, or let's say that you compete in Taekwondo, you can really look and break the movement down almost like to a pixelated level or speed it up and train and see what happens, because you have a full control over sort of like the space movement as well as sort of like the time component, whether you want to slow it down or if you want to speed it up, or if you're a negotiator and you train mediation or closing deals, and you can like really see what triggers people, and you can see how to sort of like change your delivery to influence and make an impact, or you can zoom in on the little sort of like moments when you slide off, or if you're a cook, and you can look into how to really make your cupcakes magical and so attractive that nobody can say no to them, and nobody goes to Melissa's anymore, and everybody comes straight to you, which I would never go to Melissa anyway. I was so shocked. Somebody posted on Facebook last week was it a banana bread pudding or was it cupcakes? But it was Melissa's, or wait, what's the good one?
I'm not sure.
What's the bakery that does banana bread pudding? Like the irresistible one.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I've ever eaten banana bread pudding.
Oh my God, you're missing out. What do you eat?
Man, pizza and hamburgers. That's about where we
Oh, I see. Okay. You're more on the savory spectrum. Got it.
Taste,
Magnolia. It was Magnolia. And I was like, I can't even believe that you're comparing these two categories. I mean, this is like comparing, like a steakhouse or a McDonald's. It's
right.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. Anyways.
I agree with that. So, and one thing that you do though is I know you've done at least one seminar, probably more. I gave my homework kind of lacked, unfortunately, today. But you do seminars on lucid dreaming, correct?
That is correct. The next one is coming this Saturday, and then we're doing a digital lucid dream retreat next weekend, which is like the 27th through the 29th. I kind of figured out that a lot of people either won't be able to travel to attend the Thanksgiving, or it's going to be stilted in some way, or maybe some people are just like fed up with the whole family dynamic. So I figured that there might be some people who might be interested in learning something new on the Thanksgiving weekend. So
I didn't wait for roles, especially now. I know I'm not sure on New York roles, but probably the same way. I know that COVID hit really hard in New York, but in Ohio they just released a new curfew today. So I'm sure by the time Thanksgiving rolls around, we're all gonna be locked up in our houses. So that is a perfect time, I think, to do any kind of webinar or seminar all of the above.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So one question for you here is, earlier you mentioned that I probably don't lucid dream anymore because I'm tired. So what is the primary way, if you wanted to lucid dream, how would you recommend doing that? And how do you teach your students in person to lucid dream?
Okay, so one thing I would say that works for everybody, even if you're a complete rookie, is this. Go for a walk right before you go to bed and walk extremely slowly and notice everything. Make a mental note of absolutely everything. Don't actively engage with it, but it's almost like a walking meditation, and give yourself space to sort of like look at the door that you're passing by and you say, oh my God, look, I've never noticed. This door has a number 57 on it. 57 actually is my birthday number, July 5th, blah, 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 blah. And this is actually the number of my parents' house. How funny, I never noticed that. And then you keep walking and say, oh, these cobblestones, I really feel them. I feel like I'm in the medieval city somewhere in Europe. Oh, I can see how this like night is coming towards me. In other ways, go observe and let your imagination talk back to you, or let this like visual input talk back to you, and let it ignite some kind of emotional response and some kind of imagination response. In this way, you're going to train your mind to be attentive. And then basically, one-on-one rule of lucid dreaming is look at your hands, say, am I dreaming? So you go about your day, you go about your evening, you look at your hands, you say, am I dreaming? And this is one of the things, basically a habit or something that you repetitively do throughout the day is very likely you will also do in your dream at night. So this is like a perfect setup, isn't it? You look at your hands, you say, am I dreaming? And then if you're in the dream, your hands will look different than they do in reality. They might even be some like an energy glow coming out of it, because actually these are pretty powerful chakras that we have right in our palms. Yeah. And very quickly, if you ask yourself that and really think about it, am I dreaming? You will probably say, yes, I am dreaming. And then yes, it's likely that you will be so excited that you will wake yourself up. But if not, then there's a couple of ways you can go about it. You either already have a strong intention and you know exactly what you want to do. I don't know. You don't know your father. You say, spirits, show me. I want to find out who my father was. Or you say, I know that I have a connection with ancient Persia. Take me there. Show me a part of life that I lived there, or one of my previous lives. Or you literally say to the guides of the dream, show me, take me. And this is basically whatever there is for you, you should know, they will take you there. And this is crazy. This is like a big experience. This is almost like a DMT or a 5-MeO DMT experience, because they will whack you out and you will go. You will travel past dimensions and it will feel like it. So if you're chicken shit like me, buckle up and get ready. Like it'll be a ride. And after you say, show me, take me, you might be stuck here for a little bit in this like black cocoon, which is basically a cocoon between dimensions, between sort of like it gets calibrated where you're going to be sent to. And it's dark, and that's okay. Just like trust it, bear it, get through it.
Fair enough. Now I have a couple of questions from that. One, does time exist in the same way when you
No.
are lucid? No? Okay, cool. So like, when you mentioned that you could be stuck for a while, like what does that mean exactly?
Well, imagine yourself being stuck in complete pitch dark, not knowing where you are just for 3 seconds. It feels like an eternity, doesn't it?
It's fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Kind of like that. So basically, for whatever amount of time you're stuck somewhere where you're unfamiliar, it's going to feel like a long time.
That makes sense. Cool. So as you know, we are live right now. We have a few comments. Joe's here. What's up? Thanks for watching, Joe. You have
Hi.
Yvonne. We're watching Yvonne. And then one thing you mentioned during your the way that works there is like you notice numbers and you notice, oh, that number connects to me, that number connects this way. It's kind of coincidental. Last week on the show, I had actually the vice president of our website, All Everything Entertainment, on the show. And while he was telling me his experiences and his paranormal experiences, he noticed this poster behind me, November 11th.
Ah, yes.
And then that connected to something he had earlier. And while we were talking live, he was like, "Whoa, that's November 11th." Like, yeah, it's like that's always been there. I'm like, yeah. And then he kind of explained how that, like 2 days before that, he made a mistake about November 11th, and then all this other stuff happened. And then so now Josh, who's also watching the show, reminds him of that situation. And after that show went off air, we were talking, and like he was just correlated with the number 11 in a lot of ways, including my phone number equals 11 actually. So it was just like a lot of different things came up. So how what is the deal with the number 11, if you know that, and how does the number correlation connect to everything with the universe, if that makes sense?
Sure. All right. The universe communicates in crazy alternative ways. And oftentimes it works or it communicates through symbols. And numbers are a language of the universe. It's this abstract numbers, right? Um, 11 specifically actually means originality or spirit of a genius. It means it's sort of like the awakening of something transcendental. It's the first number that sort of like exceeds the first 10. And then that goes into the 22 and then into the 33, and they progressively. So 11 is more on a level of something really original. The 22 is a number of a genius, or it could be a total fool or a madman. And then the 33 is sort of like an ascended master's number, but it starts really at 11, that we sort of like leave the plane of the 3D and we look sort of like into the world of ideas and something special. So I think that in this way, 1111 could refer to, I think that a human race right now is sort of like at a brink of something. We have to make kind of like big choices to get over ourselves and think a little bit more sustainably about our own lives, our own communities, and our home, which is planet Earth. And implement a few things, how to change our lives as a whole in order to preserve this planet and kind of continue with the human race. Because if we continue with the egotism, the hatred, the amassing of capital that leads nowhere, that just leads to depletion and inequalities, then I think we can all imagine where we're going to end up, and pretty quick. And that doesn't mean 300 years. It literally means in the next decade.
That's interesting, and I absolutely think you're correct, because it does seem like right now we are on the brink of something. Like the past couple of years have been insane, and then this past 2020 has been especially insane. So I mean, there definitely is something. Like you can just kind of feel it in the air, especially if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff. That's one of my favorite terms, by the way, is sensitive. If you're sensitive to that, you can definitely feel there is something going on. Like I even feel like the paranormal world, like this, the energies have seriously increased, if that makes sense. So
It does. Yeah. It really seems like everything was kind of like feeding into 2020, and then the 2020 imploded, right?
right.
It felt like as if we're going to get onto a speed, like we were all running towards a speed train, and then we got onto the speed train. Is everybody on the speed train? And then we thought that, the 2020 will like launch us out on the speed train. But what happened was it imploded. It kind of like it like I don't know, like it pushed us back, so that we have to like revisit this like entire rat's race and maybe rewind.
And that's a great way to put it, because of COVID and the quarantines and all of that, we have slowed down. Stores have been closing, people have been home with their families. And I've talked to a lot of people, one being a professional WWE wrestler who just realized, I'm home now. That's good. It's a lot of mental health healing, I think, with the slowdown of America and the world at that point. So it's not all bad.
Definitely. I mean, this planet Earth and the realm where we live, this is the world of polarities, right? And we all have our own demons that are just like we're shoving them into the closet. And, there's so many loose ends in all of our projects. We just basically, in this crazy, speedy way, try to deal with absolutely what we have to move on, because we always have a promise of what's ahead of us, what are we running towards. So again, there's like all these loose ends and like pockets of categories, like family, health, mental health, blah blah blah, archiving, whatever you have, that are like open and unfinished, so loose ends. And I think that the 2020 really gave us an opportunity to kind of like open all these dossiers, open all of these files of things that are not just absolutely necessary for our survival and the propelling of our own careers, right? And to look at things a little bit more holistically and bring in the shadow and embrace whatever we've been sort of like pushing away or like locking into the closet, and bring it into a conversation, so that we can deal with it in some kind of a productive way, accept it, and incorporate it into this dance.
I think that's probably the goal here. Like it is a dance right now. We're figuring out, we're all getting put in our places here. And once everything syncs up, it'll be all right. I have faith. So now back to the lucid dreaming. So you do. So I have two questions here. I know because you went kind of virtual here with COVID. So when you do teach this or practice this with others, how does that work? Like how do you? I mean, is it like a yoga, or how does that go?
Alrighty. So basically, I lead a little bit of a meditation first, so that we all kind of connect with the multiple facets of our own selves. And then I tell them a little bit of an intro or of why this lucid dreaming matters at all, which is kind of what we attacked before. And then I tell them what the process is, and I lure them. It's almost like it's called induction, but it's very similar. I'm not going to say hypnosis because I have never officially studied hypnosis or done hypnosis, but I think that you could say that it's akin to that. And even as a lucid dream coach, I have seen tremendous results by incorporating my shamanic drum, and a candle flame, because it's really important that on some level you connect with the elements, you transmit your intention of transcending and being able to sort of like grasp your consciousness even when you're dreaming. And also I think that fire has a magical kind of property of opening up your like third eye. Even as a child, I remember sometimes would have big bonfires, and there's something hypnotic about the fire. So if you sit there and you look at it for a while, I feel like I remember even as a child, when I went to bed after that, I would feel like I can still see the flame. So that's something that kind of aids with lucid dreaming. It opens like these like other pockets and other glands in our body, in our minds, that make us more perceptive to go in.
What's funny about that is it's the exact, like I've done several sessions of like communicating with the paranormal, if that makes sense. And one of the first things you do, at least from my experiences, the thing that we do when we do it is we light a candle. That's just the number one, that you have to have a candle or it's not gonna work. So,
interesting. I did not know that, but yes, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, I didn't know that about that. So the fact that they all kind of connects, that's crazy.
It's also like I think that all these natural elements are actually mediums, mediums for the higher force, or whatever you want to call it, to find a way of embodiment and expression. And by paying attention to it, you bond with it, or you become more sensitive, to go back to your favorite word, which is also one of my favorite words. And you're able to pay attention to subtler cues and subtler forms of life.
That makes a lot of sense. So I have to ask, how do you, since COVID, how do you translate all of that onto a webinar or a virtual session? Like, do you make everybody light their candles and kind of like how does that work basically?
Yeah, yeah. Everything, the only two things that I tell them they need is a candle. And then the second thing that they need is a comfortable place to lay down, somewhere where they can still like have their computers on and listen to me and my little drum and my little induction, but somewhere where they can make it kind of dark, or they can cover their eyes and just like lay down comfortably. That's the only thing that's really required from their end. Everything else, comes from me or interaction itself.
Oh, fair enough.
But yeah.
That sounds phenomenal. It is kind of crazy. I was like, hearing about that, how a lot of that is similar to like paranormal investigating and trying to communicate with the other side, and how you have to be sensitive to really feel it. It's more than just seeing and hearing. It knocks on doors and that kind of stuff. It's a feeling. It's connecting. So it is kind of. I mean, it's obviously lucid dreaming and paranormal are two separate things, but they are connected in a lot of ways.
I think, you really made me think. So this is so funny. All my life, I always sensed entities and spirits around me. And I was always terrified. I was absolutely terrified until, I had this transformative experience in Mexico. And then I went and studied with a shaman here in New York. And then I went to Guatemala and studied in a meditation center where they do lucid dreaming, astral projecting, meditating, and different kinds of metaphysics. But, up to that point in my life, I was terrified of that. And I find it hilarious that I'm on a, paranormal activities podcast. Because if you asked me if I wanted to watch any kind of paranormal movie when I was 10 or 18 or 5, I would always say, no, I still don't watch any horror movies. But I absolutely agree that basically we're entering the same fabric with, paranormal activities or with lucid dreaming. Just that with paranormal activities, I guess it has more to do with being attuned to what is, or, still clearly stating an intent of what you want to experience. And in lucid dreaming, so I don't think that I totally clarified before, but astral projecting and lucid dreaming is basically the same thing. In both cases, your astral body dissociates from your physical and goes, let's say, on a journey. However, you are still connected to something akin to umbilical cord with your physical body so that you can come back at any given moment. Just that in the lucid dreaming, this happens in your sleep state and you enter the astral travel through a waking state. Does that make sense? So basically your body is already separated. That's why it's kind of easier to do this while lucid dreaming if you're able to wake yourself up, or rather if you're able to sort of like catch yourself, I'm dreaming, and then right away you go to, where do I want to go? What do I want to experience? But I think that even with lucid dreaming, if you wanted to experience something mystical or paranormal, yeah, there you go. I mean, you're in it. You know what I mean? Just like you're in the fabric. So it's almost like your wish is their command.
Absolutely. And again, it is all connected because like I also experience sleep paralysis a lot. I know one of the common symptoms of sleep paralysis, or if you're prone to it, I should say, is you're also prone to lucid dreaming. And so it's just a whole like mental state, basically. It's what your state is. If you think you can do it, you probably can. If you don't think you can, you probably won't. That makes sense.
I mean, I think that sleep paralysis is at the gap between the physical and astral. So basically your astral is still dissociated. It hasn't totally like conjoined with your physical yet. It hasn't landed properly yet, but your physical has woken up. That's why your will is not embodied yet. It's still on another level. That's why it happens that you're wide awake, but you can't move. It's right. Because your will and that body is not connected to your physical yet.
I mean, in that sense, you're just kind of forced to stay there because you're refusing to go to the next step. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Very excellent. All right. So I do have to ask, I like the fun questions here. What are some of your, if you want to tell, I guess, what are some of your favorite moments or your favorite experiences of lucid dreaming?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few. There's a few. Okay. So I really loved my first big lucid dream thing because this was the first time. It was like a month and a half after I came back from Guatemala. And it was really like, how the hell do I practice this lucid dreaming? How the hell am I ever going to catch myself? Who has time in New York while rushing, looking into my hands and being, am I dreaming? I mean, to the point that I can make it a habit. This is ridiculous. But I remember that at a time I was like subletting my apartment or something and I was staying over at a friend's, but they had a problem because there was a party. So they kept calling me and waking me up in the middle of the night. So I had this like, moment of fractured sleep. And so in one moment, my body was so discombobulated that I was dreaming, but I was like scared that they would like call me again and that I'm missing something in this reality. So in one moment, I was able to catch myself, and I was like, wow! I was actually at my best friend's birthday party, my best friend's from my childhood, and she looked at me and she said to me, "Go wash your hair." And at first I kind of like joked and I said like this, and I just like made a gesture with a shawl, and that thing completely changed my entire hairdo. And then I looked at myself in the mirror and I was this like desert woman, really dark, and I was like, oh my God, this is how I look like. And then she said, no, wash your hair. And then I started walking through this like eyes wide shut kind of villa, and thinking, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm already here. Like, why would I waste my time washing my hair? And then all of a sudden, when I said that to myself, I looked up and I said, I'm dreaming. I'm in a dream. And then literally, I was just like, I stopped and I said, okay, show me, take me. And there was this moment where sort of like this party house became a tunnel that was just sort of like gray, like different nuances of gray. And I saw different geometrical objects kind of like come out from the ground. And then there was a moment where it whacked me out into something that felt like a vacuum. And it was really interesting because sort of like auditory wise, we were in a vacuum. There was absolutely no kind of sound. We were in a deaf space. And then there was like, I kind of saw the formation of the planets and formation of the continents. And then it took me literally to a sky and to the door in the sky. And the voice said, like, like a golden fish fairy tale. It said, you can visit 3 people and tell them that you love them. And then right away, I went to 3, one by one, but I went into 3 totally different stories. But it felt like, I don't know, in some way, it felt archetypal, really archetypal, with this particular structure of, a voice that grants you 3 wishes. And then at the same time, it was like deeply meaningful for me because I knew exactly who those people were that I wanted to talk to and connect to. And then I want to add, there was one more experience that I really enjoyed, where I was in an apartment, completely empty apartment, and I started basically flying here and there. So this is one thing in the dream world, right? You don't have to work hard to move your body. Actually, your body moves by itself, by the volition. So if you tell it, I'm on this side of the mountain, I want to go over there, you do that instantaneously because it works by volition. So, I figured, I said, you know what, I'm lucid dreaming, but I don't have enough energy right now to ask the spirits of the dream world to take me far away. Like right now, I'm not in a state that I could endure in any, of those pitch black places. So I said, I'm just gonna like rehearse this a little bit. I'm gonna fly like a little V here and there. And then in one moment I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm wasting my time and energy. And I looked up into the wall in front of me, and I said, "Show me, take me." And then there was a moment where this, like, you know, Harry Potter and the Quidditch, the little
The ball that flies really fast.
yeah, I guess Quidditch is a game, but then they had this little thing, Quidditch ball, I guess, which was just
That
like
makes
that.
sense. Yeah, the
So
goal.
that, yeah, all of a sudden that popped up, and I got a message that this is calibrating where you know they should take me. And then what was really interesting was that sort of like the left part and the right part of room were identical. They were just like a mirror image of themselves, and in between them was this like Quidditch thing vibrating and calibrating.
So there's a few things there that kind of caught my attention. One, you said you were in a vacuum. Space is a vacuum, you know, kind of go hand in hand there. One question I have from that story made me think of this. Do you think it's possible that, you know, you said you didn't have energy to do a certain thing,
Mhm.
and as far as I know and can tell, that the paranormal side of things involves energy. You know, spirits have to have energy to do certain things or not do certain things, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So, with all that being said, is it possible, do you think, that a lot of paranormal activities that people experience, whether it be things falling or things moving or noises being made, it's not a ghost at all, but maybe another person who is in that state, who is traveling through the universe or through another realm of reality, and it's them making them doing that in that same area, just on a different frequency. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, it's quite impossible to like track ourselves,
Right.
right? I don't know. I've never. Oh, here is one fun thing. So one of the people that I went to visit in my first dream, right? I kind of texted him the next morning and I said, "Hey, I had a lucid dream about you," and just to quickly reiterate, just because it's an example of how things are connected. And I said, I was in your apartment where I'd never been before, and there was this like Arabic family there. And at some moment, I realized that I'm actually inside of a TV screen, which you're watching. Therefore, I was with the Arabic family, which was the movie that you were watching. And then at the same time, there was this like action of like moving the antenna. There was something up with the antenna. And he goes, I mean, first of all, he said, "You're not the first person who had a lucid dream about me last night. My neighbor did too." And she said, "Il
Yeah.
tua anima è già arrivata," which means your spirit is already here, your soul is already here. The second one was he did watch an Arabic movie, and third was he did have repairs on the roof that day prior made on his antenna.
That
So
is
yeah,
insane.
totally connected. But like, I guess, what I'm trying to say is, apart from this, it's really hard to track our own actions, because like, who are you going to ask? Did you get all of these signs?
True. I think that's a good
But yeah,
example.
totally, I agree. Totally possible.
I think that proves that. The fact that the antenna messed up while that was happening, that answers the question, I think, by itself. And real quick here, Josh again is watching, referring to your hair story. He's making, he loves watching his hair.
Gosh, good one.
That guy. But yeah, so that's a pretty great story. I like that a lot, because that answered the question itself, because you lucid dreaming there interfered with the television, and that's all radio waves and radio signals. So yeah, all connected. I have to ask you, going back into your background here, you have traveled a lot. So what made you want to get further into lucid dreaming and do that traveling and that learning and really explore that concept?
Sorry, I took a little bit of a pause. I'm thinking. I mean, I feel like, again, coming from a lifetime of fear of everything paranormal, and again, after I started studying with some people and sort of like saw the structure of how things work together, and where the souls come from, and soul contracts, and how most of the things that we access are actually made of love and really high up light energy. I guess I wanted to just like know more. It seemed like, okay, so this is what it was. I came back from Mexico, and then I had some kind of rash on my tummy. And I went in and met this very, very, very cute doctor who, with one look at me, he only said to me, "Oh, you should go to Lake Atitlan in Guatemala." And then I went to some kind of moon worship, moon dance somewhere in Bushwick, and I met a girl, and she said, "Oh, you should go to Lake Atitlan." And then met the third one and said, "You should go to Lake Atitlan." And I was like, "Okay, I get it completely. Now let's talk. You give me a recommendation. Like, where specifically am I going? Like, I am going there, that's for sure. Like, but where specifically?" And she sat down and she typed in my phone, Piramides del Cap. So I looked them up, and it's this meditation center where everybody individually lives in a small pyramid, basically in the middle of this jungle. And they teach you how to meditate, how to lucid dream, how to astral project, and sort of like different metaphysics disciplines, right? Which is tarot, which is shaluhaka, astrology, everything I've ever been interested in. And it just seemed so out of this world. I mean, lucid dreaming, who the hell knows anything about that? It seemed like that is the exact thing that I want to learn, because I don't know anybody that knows anything about it. So basically, I was attracted to it because it sounded wacky. Also, I started reading Carlos Castaneda's books when I was 13, and have been, periodically reading them on and off this like entire time. And he does have a huge emphasis on what happens in the, in the dream reality. So I was like, oh my God, what? There are people out there that can teach me this? Unbelievable. So yeah, that's why.
Awesome. That makes sense. That's the same reason I started this podcast. I had a lot of like paranormal things happening since I can remember. It's my idea. I was like, I was afraid of it. I got older. I was like, all right, let's just learn about it. So I started the show to talk to others who have similar experiences. So that's the way you face your fears, I think, to figure out what's going on, is just to talk to other people about it and, learn from each other. Because everybody has certain experiences, and you put them all together. It's like each person is a puzzle, if that makes sense. And
Absolutely.
together, it's excellent. All righty. Well, hey, I have really, really enjoyed you being on the show tonight. It was awesome to hear your experiences and your stories. Is there anything else you want to tell us about lucid dreaming that we haven't mentioned already?
Is there anything else? First of all, thank you so much for having me. This was such a pleasure. I always discover like new things and new sides of things by talking to people. I don't know if there's anything that comes to mind, any new piece of sort of like the puzzle, but if anybody's interested, please join us. Maybe I can come up with a code for your listeners or viewers specifically, so that there's a little bit of an incentive. But like I said, there's an intro induction coming up this Saturday. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then the weekend after that, we're doing sort of like a 3-day or a 2-day lucid dream retreat. And you can also just take separate, individual classes within that. So it's sort of like a little bit more wide open for people who just want to dabble into this or dabble into that. But yeah, I'm doing this to equip people, to make them more skillful within their own set of leading their own consciousness. It's sort of like another step after meditation, of not just being aware, but like it's about intent. How do you guide your own intent? And then if you look really into some of the Tibetan literature about this, it's what we need in order to progress through lifetime, so that we don't always incarnate on this particular level, or even slide down and incarnate lower, but to sort of like rise up to the light, rise up to the occasion, and lift consciousness for ourselves and everybody else as well.
That sounds phenomenal. That is a really awesome and interesting thing. I'm definitely going to look into that. And I encourage all of my listeners, all of my viewers, whether you're an audio listener, live listener, whatever, definitely to check it out. And where can we find all of your work, basically? Tell us where we find your social media, websites, all of the good stuff.
Thank you so much. Yeah, check it out. Facebook, Shaman Woman NYC. Yeah, that's the most direct way. Otherwise, we're also on Instagram under femme role model.
Nice. And you also have a website here. I'll just throw one here. I'll get this right. TjasaFerme.com.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's right. Thank you.
Don't
Perfect pronunciation. You nailed it this time. You got it.
Perfect. Again, huge thanks for being on the show tonight. It was a huge pleasure. Really enjoyed it. I love learning about all of that kind of stuff, especially when it's a little bit, outside of the ghost era, if that makes sense. Because typically that's what I talk to. So to hear another side of things was just phenomenal and definitely informative. So huge thanks for being on the show tonight. I had a great time.
Thank you. So did I. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And again, all of you listeners, viewers, I really appreciate you guys. Be sure to keep checking us out here at alleverythingentertainment.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all the social media. You can follow us also on Apple, wherever you get your podcast. And at the end of the day, guys, let's just keep learning together.